is often located high above the ground. To move a heavy object from the ground to the floor and back down again requires special equipment, tools, and skills. In this section, we will look at some of the equipment and tools used to make a lift, along with a few tips on their maintenance. A major lifting tool on many rigs is the cathead. This overhead diagram of a drawworks shows that the cathead spool for lifting and the automatic cathead for tong lines are integral parts of the drawworks. Turning power is transmitted to the catheads via chains and a master cathead clutch. The cathead clutch is controlled from the driller's panel and must be engaged for all cathead operations. As long as the master cathead clutch is engaged, the spool at left will spin. For lifting, a fiber rope called cat line is wrapped around the rotating spool. Lifting power comes from friction between the cat line and spool and from a downward pull by the operator. A divider is used to guide the incoming rope onto the spool and push preceding wraps outward. Without the divider, the cat line may pile up and lock itself to the spool. This is a dangerous situation. And so is a worn divider. Wear can sharpen the divider enough to cut the cat line at a critical time. However, a periodic inspection of the divider can identify any signs of excessive wear before they become a problem. Cat line friction also wears down the spool. Grooves on the surface of this spool indicate that it should be replaced or resurfaced. If friction from the cat line is great enough to wear away metal, you can imagine what it does to the rope itself. Before making a lift, always inspect the cat line for signs of wear, like cuts, abrasions, or fraying. The cost of replacing a worn cat line is small compared to the cost of human injury. A hemp or fiber rope is always used as the cat line because wire line cannot withstand the friction generated by the rotating spool. Using wire rope can damage both the line and the spool. The maximum safe workload for a 1-inch diameter rope is 6,380 pounds, slightly more than 3 tons. This should provide enough strength for most rig jobs, but keep in mind that an old or worn rope will not have the same strength it did when new. On many rigs, an air hoist or tugger replaces or supplements the cathead because it is easier and safer to operate. A pneumatic motor, powered from the air supply on the rig, turns the hoisting drum to reel in and let out the wire rope. The more durable wire rope can be safely used on a hoist, since there is no friction between the drum and the line. The hoist is controlled from a single lever, which can provide power in both directions. A mechanical brake helps slow the descent of a load and provides additional control. The brake should never be used to suspend a load in the air. A drum guard is a safety feature found on some hoists. The guard helps prevent hands, loose clothing, and other objects from being caught and pulled into the hoist. A wind guide may be used too. The guide enables the operator to neatly rewind a line onto the drum. This prevents the line from knotting or piling up on one end of the drum, thereby decreasing the lifting capacity of the hoist and the service life of the wire rope. Knowing the maximum lifting capacity of the hoist is important. These hoist models were all made by one manufacturer, yet their capacities vary by several thousand pounds. Always be certain that the load never exceeds the lifting capacity of the hoist. Also, keep in mind that the maximum lifting capacity of a hoist decreases in proportion to the amount of line on the drum. Why? Well, just like a bicycle going uphill, an air hoist can pull more weight in low gear than it can in high. Wire rope is subjected to a lot of abuse when used on a hoist. Inspect it regularly for signs of wear, like cut or crushed wires, and replace it when needed. Regardless of the type of hoisting equipment used, all lifting lines pass through a sheave or pulley in the derrick. The sheave or pulley supports a large portion of the weight, so be sure it is securely fastened. On the other end of the line, a variety of slings can be used to attach the load. Since the exact type of sling varies from rig to rig, you will receive further instructions at the rig on what types of slings you'll be using and how they are fastened. Be sure to periodically inspect the slings for signs of wear, and always keep them stored neatly and out of the weather when not in use. When lifting large or awkward loads, a tag line should be used for better control. Now that we have covered most of the equipment you'll be using to make a lift, let's take a short break before going on to the skills involved. If workbooks are available, stop the tape and work exercise 1. Everyone involved in a cathead or air hoist lift needs certain skills. The hoist operator must be able to safely operate his equipment, and the crew must know how to properly handle the load. Teamwork is also a skill that takes some practice. So, in this section, we will talk about some of the skills to practice as an individual and as a team when making a lift on the rig. Before making a lift, the air hoist operator should check his equipment, especially the wire rope. Meanwhile, the crew inspects the slings and attaches them to the load. During the lift, the hoist operator is careful to keep his load under control. He knows that hot rodding the hoist is a good way to lose control and cause an accident. With the pipe in the air, the floor hands stay alert and keep their eyes on the load. They also fasten tag lines to loads that are too heavy or bulky to handle safely by hand. The hoist operator stays at the controls until the load is safely landed and all equipment is secured. Just like an air hoist lift, catheads require a great deal of team and individual effort. While one person operates the cathead, the floor hands help control the load. The driller supervises the operation and stays by the control panel to disengage the cathead clutch should trouble arise. When needed, the proper hand signals are used to relay information between team members. This is especially useful if the hoist operator cannot see the load clearly. Before the lift begins, the cathead operator makes sure that the equipment is in good working order. His check includes the spool, divider, and of course the cat line. The draw works is then slowed down so that the cat line can be wrapped around the drum. After the first wrap, the slack is taken out of the line before wrapping more line on the drum. The number of wraps on the spool is critical for a safe lift. Too few, and you won't get enough lifting power. Too many, and the line may lock itself to the drum. Experience is the true way of gauging how many wraps are needed. In any case, you should use only enough wraps to lift the load. If more than 5 or 6 wraps are needed to lift the load, another means of moving the object should be seriously considered. Since safely controlling the cat line can be a very tricky operation, beginners should be carefully instructed and closely supervised their first few times out. For safety and convenience, the loose end of the cat line is always neatly coiled on the floor or placed on a special holder. The operator never stands inside the coiled line. Oh, one more important point. Never ever use a cathead to lift personnel. The equipment simply is not safe enough for this type of operation. Lifting equipment or supplies with the cathead or an air hoist can be a safe operation. If you properly inspect and maintain your equipment, practice your individual and team skills, and remember to follow a few simple rules. After all, safety is no accident. If workbooks are available, work exercise 2.